Good evening, CineNerds. I'm JP, and I am accompanied today by...
I was supposed to say my name?
Oh,
I thought you were going to introduce me. Okay. Rick Poulton from the Whole Damn Enchilada Podcast.
See, you do it so much better than me.
I guess so. Yeah.
So, just to let everybody know, I have Rick with me today. We originally was going to be recording and filming today, and it was going to be me, Rick, and Ryan. However, I'm not going to go into any issues, what's going on, but Ryan had some family issues and was not able to make it to film for these next couple episodes that we're going to be filming today. And so just everybody kind of just be thinking of Ryan and do what you do and keep him in your thoughts. So
Right on.
So today I made you watch...
You made me watch Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
The 2021 kind of reboot film for the Resident Evil series. This is one that this film got a lot of hate.
It made a lot of money. It got a lot of hate, but it made a lot of money, so it must have did okay. I'm not familiar at all with the series. I barely played the games, but I know about the games and things like that. So I watched it. And I never watched any of the other ones. I think I may have watched the first one, Mila Jovovich, but I don't remember it at all. I probably should have silenced my phone there. Let's go ahead and do that.
That's a Ryan thing. Ryan's bad for that.
Yeah, see, well, I was doing it as a tribute.
Yeah.
Tribute to Ryan. But no, I've never seen any of the films in the series, and I barely played any of the games. But I had a working knowledge of a lot of the characters just because, it's iconic. It's an iconic series. And you know what's going on just from hanging out with somebody like you that does play the games. You hear him talk about it.
Yeah, and that was and I was a massive Resident Evil fan for the games, and I think when I got my original PS1, Resident Evil was the first game. The first two games I got for that system was Resident Evil and Destruction Derby. And so
never heard of the latter, but
yeah, it was just a Destruction Derby like car game, It was kind of a fun game, but I fell in love with Resident Evil when the first one came out, and obviously I continued play. I played all of the games, Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Biohazard Village, the Revelations 1 and 2, Code Veronica. I'm trying
to sound like you're naming off Amityville movies.
Operation,
just keep going and going.
Operation Raccoon City. And actually, I have a little funny story about Operation Raccoon City. That game was kind of universally hated, but when that game came out, Waylon and I loved that game. And it was because it had this co-op storyline that you could play through. It's kind of like Resident Evil 5 and 6 did as well, but it had more of a co-op storyline, and it had like an online kind of deathmatch thing with it.
Oh, yeah.
And Waylon and I got so fucking good at that game. He was ranked at one point, he was ranked like number 2 in the world on that game. Like back years and years when it first came out ago. He was ranked like number 2, and I was ranked like number 17 in the world on that game, on like all the online battles and stuff. And we would get messages from other players bitching at us because we were so fucking good they thought we were cheating. And we would get like messages all the time accusing us of cheating. I mean, we wasn't. Like, we were just we just got so we played that game so hardcore that at the time, now we are divorced from our wives at the time, but back then we played that game together so much and so hardcore that my wife, ex-wife now, and his now ex-wife almost divorced us over this game, over us playing this game so much.
Sometimes.
So that happened, but yeah, I played all of the games except for the and I can't remember what they were called, but the Resident Evil games that was the shooters with the little light gun that you could buy
Oh,
separate.
I remember those.
Yeah, I didn't. I know I played them, but I didn't play them.
On
you
those
know,
a little bit.
Yeah, I never played through those. Those are the only ones I didn't.
Now, the only one I did play through, I want to say it was Resident Evil 4. I think it took place in Mexico. And it was like some Spanish country. If it wasn't Mexico,
that sounds like 5.
And
well, 4.
It was the first of the over the shoulder first person. Well, technically it's still third person, but it was sort of like a first person shooter.
Yeah,
which I hate first person shooters. But I never could play Resident Evil games. But this game, they did both of those things very well, and I really liked it.
Part 4, I think you play as Leon, and it's the first one with the over the shoulder, and I don't remember it being in Mexico. And I even just played the remake, and I thought it was like in an Eastern European country.
It might be, but 5 is very much like 4.
Yeah,
and I played that one a little bit, so I might be getting them.
Yeah,
I might be mixing them.
5 was definitely in like South America or something.
See, I'm
getting
them confused, but I played both of them.
Yeah, and then part 6 was
I played one more than the other.
Yeah, and part 6 was again with the over the shoulder. Actually, I think they perfected that over the shoulder in part 6.
Okay,
and,
I might have to look into that.
A lot of the RE fans hated part 6 because they said that it was more like Modern Warfare meets Resident Evil, because the gameplay was very was just so, I don't know, the gameplay for me in part 6 was fantastic. Right. I really wish they would just go back to that gameplay, but that's me, and I'm not the majority, because the majority of people hated 6 because it got away from survival horror and it was more military, going in and fucking shit up with the zombies, you know. But so I'm not the majority on that. So they went back to the more survival horror with Biohazard and The Village.
Right on. Yeah, we a while ago we were playing Resident Evil in real life at Nightmare Cleveland. That was fun shit.
That was fun. Nightmare Cleveland had the zombie, was it zombie warfare?
I think that's what they called it. Yeah, they give you a gun, and it's pretty much like walking through one of those games. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it was fun. They had these kind of like laser tag light guns that were built kind of like AR style guns, and yeah, it was fun. It was a blast just going through. I think that would be more fun for me. I felt that was more fun than going through the haunted house.
100%. I told the owner, and I was like, if you guys did this, and this is the way it was every week, I'd probably be here every week. Oh yeah. I'd get a season pass or something.
Yeah, it was fun, and I'm stuttering now, but I actually thought that was it was a lot more fun than I thought it was actually going to be.
And that was like the rough first time they did it. Now they're talking about trying to figure out a way where it'll score as you go through it. Once they do that, they get that right,
game over. Game over with that, because that was that was one little letdown. It's like, you go through and shoot them, but
we don't know if we won, lost,
you don't know if who in your team had the highest score or anything of that nature. It was just going through and shooting a bunch of people dressed as zombies and creatures crawling out of walls and stuff. But it was still fun. I had a blast.
Absolutely.
Well, Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, and had you ever seen this one?
I have never seen a Resident Evil movie as far as I can remember. I may have seen the first one with Mila Jovovich, but if I did, I don't remember it. So when I was looking up this movie, because I had to buy it on Fandango, because it wasn't streaming on anything, there was literally...
I gave you my login. You should have just logged in. It was on mine.
I didn't see that on there.
It was on there. It was if you scrolled on down, it was...
Okay, right, or whatever. Well, it was $6.99 to buy it. And it's like... $3.99 to rent it. I was like, for an extra $3, just in case this is good, I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And I'd never seen it. So I was looking to buy it, and there's like 30 different Resident Evil movies. They made a ton of these things,
and even animated films too.
And even animated films. And so I was like, I hope this is the right one, and it was. And I just watched it today for the first time, and it was okay. It was pretty cool. One thing I noticed right away is it really had a feel of the video games. And like, again, I didn't play them, but I know about them. I've seen them. I'm hearing character names, Chris and Claire, and, Leon, I think, was in it, right?
Yeah.
And
Wesker, you had Wesker in it.
All these names. I know these names. So that's cool. And then the sound of the game, the sound of the movie and the lighting of the movie, it kind of reminded me, like, because I've watched people play the games. I haven't played them myself. And it really, as a fan of the games, I would feel like they were, doing it justice with the way that they produced this game. As a fan of the game, I would assume fans of the game would have that thought.
Yeah, and that was, excuse me, but when I originally watched this, that was how I felt. Mm-hmm. And this, like I said at the beginning of this episode, this movie got a lot of hate. The gamers hated this movie.
Really?
Everybody I talked to bashed this movie because of, and I think a lot of it was what they did with this movie. They combined Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. And a lot of the gamer fans were pissed about combining both of those games into one film.
And here's what I thought, too, while I was watching it. I thought that even though I know all these characters, I was thinking in my head they're doing too much bringing these all together at the same time that they probably shouldn't be.
And that's where that happened. You had things from Resident Evil 1, characters from Resident Evil 1, then characters from Resident Evil 2, and they combined it into one film. A lot of the gamers was not a fan of that. And then the other thing I know that a lot of the gamers wasn't a fan of was Leon, the portrayal of Leon with the actor that was playing him. Because he was like, oh, how's this gun work? Oh, I don't know how, and that wasn't how Leon was in the game. Leon was a badass in the game. And
now refresh my memory. Which character was Leon in the movie?
He was the rookie cop.
The long hair guy. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
And, so a lot of the gamers hated the portrayal of Leon. And so they really were hard on this movie. Now, and then you had fans of the original 6, 7 Resident Evil films with Mila Jovovich, or how do you say her name?
I don't know. I was freestyling. I think it's Jovovich, but maybe it's not. Who knows?
They were fans of that series, and this movie is so different from that series that I think even
a lot of the movie fans
didn't like it because it had the campiness of, like you said, it felt like the video game, and had the campiness of like the original video game with some of the acting and some of the camera styles and stuff.
I was going to say, even the camera styles, and the dialogue seemed like a cutscene dialogue.
Yeah. And the thing is that's everything I loved about it, was the campiness and some of the camera angles and the way the shots were done. It felt like the original Resident Evil video game, but even more so than the original Resident Evil video game, it felt like a very polished 80s horror film. In a lot of those shots, if you really looked, it was especially like all the stuff when Claire was coming into town with the trucker.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then whenever she was at Chris's house and like the rain, just the way the rain looked, and everything felt very 80s horror in some of those shots for me. And just like you, I know you're a big 80s horror fan. Definitely. I love that they tried to put that element of 80s or even early 90s feel into it. But then this time period is supposed to be in the 90s. So they kind of, for me, it worked.
Yeah, I believe it took place in 96, if I'm right. 98.
Yeah, I knew it was mid-late 90s because there's even references, Claire was talking about how she was talking to this guy from Raccoon City in a chat room, and Chris was like, what the hell's a chat room, And she's like, well, it's on the internet, and this is things that
That's basically telling you, yes, the internet's brand new.
Yeah.
And I'm making a point of it right now to let you know that this is 1998 and not 2020.
And what's funny, even hearing that line about a chat room, I think most kids today would be like, what the fuck is a chat room? Because,
I thought the same thing. I knew what they were going for. And now I'm thinking, like, the people watching this now have no idea.
Yeah, so
it's like
it was both.
It doesn't really hold up.
Yeah, there was a time period when chat rooms first came out that people didn't know what a chat room is, and now in modern days, younger generations don't know what a chat room is because they don't exist. Yeah, that was kind of a AOL kind of thing where people would just get in and randomly talk to strangers, which is, when you think about it now, is kind of a weird fucking thing to do, but you know.
And most of the time, pretend they were somebody else while they were talking to strangers.
Yeah.
That was the thing to do.
So, yeah, I love the feel. I even when I originally watched this film, I love the feel of this movie. I love the combination of them combining part 1 and part 2. Do I think it might have made the film suffer a little bit because it was too many characters? Probably.
I think, yeah,
Probably.
and again, I don't really know these characters like somebody like you would.
Yeah.
But I could tell that they were trying to shoehorn a bunch of them in at once.
Yeah.
And it didn't allow for a lot of character development.
I can say, from a video gamer standpoint, would I have preferred to have seen this film only focus on the first game and only focus on Jill, Wesker, and Chris, and in the mansion, and you get to see a giant snake, you get to see like all these mutated monsters and on top of zombies, and saw that storyline unfold. I would have preferred that. I agree with the gamers that hated on this movie, and this is why they hated on it. They wanted to see this, but they got a watered down part 1 and part 2 combined, and you took some of these monsters that could have been great additions to the film and didn't even put them in it. I get it. That I would have preferred to have seen that, but does it make me hate this film? Not at all. You know, I think it's still I think it's the most fun Resident Evil film.
Well, I told my son, I said, this might be the most perfect adaptation of a video game into a movie. That said, I don't think that makes it a good movie. I'm not saying we'll wait until later whether I thought it was good or bad or whatever, but just if grading like just cinematically the quality of the movie, you know, there's some problems with it. There's some problems with it, like I said, the dialogue sounding like a cutscene. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make it like the game.
Yeah.
But it also isn't cool in the structure of what a movie's supposed to be. And then I also thought, if I was a fan of the series, the series of games, I would like this better than the Mila Jovovich films, because I've seen bits and pieces of those, and those do not feel like a game
at all.
At a game at all. Yeah,
it feels like a really polished Hollywood film that takes elements
from
of
the game.
Yeah,
only little pieces.
Yeah, and that's why I've never. I mean, I won't say I don't enjoy those Resident Evils. I get enjoyment out of them, but do I watch them and go, I'm a massive fan of this, and it's exactly what I wanted.
Right,
in
they
these
just
films,
didn't nail Resident Evil at all.
No. I think they got closer with part 2, but once you got past part 2, they were nothing, like any of the games, and that was Hollywood. Yeah, that's Hollywood for you.
Yeah. We'll throw Resident Evil's name on it, and it'll make money, and they did, because they made $1.26 billion.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, and Paul W.S. Anderson, who did the first Resident, I think he did the first Resident Evil, but he's produced all of them.
The video games?
No, the films.
Okay.
And Paul W.S. Anderson even produced this one. And the thing with, do you know who Paul W.S.
I do
Anderson?
not.
Okay, so the thing with I'm going to pull his IMDb up real quick, but the thing with Paul W.S. Anderson is this: he is one of these guys that has done a lot of stuff for Hollywood on a low shoestring budget and made them lots of fucking money. And Resident Evil has been one of those cash crops for him that he's done. And I'm not even going to go into his writing or producing credits. I'm just going to flip through his directing credits. So he started with Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat. That whole techno, low budget film, video game adaptation.
Yeah. Wasn't horrible.
Wasn't horrible. I enjoy a lot of Paul W.S. Anderson movies.
Yeah.
He also did Event Horizon.
Okay.
He did Soldier. He did the original Resident Evil. He did Alien vs. Predator. He did the original Death Race. Well, not Death Race 2, but the one with Jason Statham, the reboot Death Race.
Yeah.
And he also produced all of those reboot Death Race films. Resident Evil Retribution, Pompeii. He did the final chapter of Resident Evil. He did Monster Hunter. So, I mean, he's done a lot of these bigger films that wasn't on like a massive budget scale, you know, and he's made studios lots of fucking money, producing and directing these science fiction horror film,
right.
Hollywood, but low budget Hollywood style films. And I'm a fan. I'm kind of a fan of Paul W.S. Anderson, you know. I mean, he's got a lot of producing credits and a lot of directing credits that stand out.
Must be a fan of video games. I mean, 'cause a lot of those movies were tied to video games, so that's a good thing for something like this.
Yeah, outside of Alien vs. Predator and Event Horizon and Death Race, yeah, I mean, he's dealt a lot in video game. And everything he's done, he's not done anything perfect.
Yeah.
You know, but he's
well, I'm a horror fan, you know, so as a horror fan, a lot of the, like one thing my co-host Ryan and I talk about all the time when we're grading movies, it's like, these ain't gonna win no damn Academy Awards.
Nah.
For the most part. You know, sometimes you get the exception to the rule. Like the new Godzilla movie. I think that should have won Best Picture.
Which I have not watched yet. Still have not watched yet.
All right. Well, I recommend when you do watch it in Japanese and watch it in black and white.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, yeah, so I'm used to movies that are more entertaining than actual good movies, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you know, I'm the same way. And I've said multiple times on this podcast, I've made the statement, just because I rate something low doesn't mean that it's not a good film. I can rate, well, Party Animal, for example.
Right.
I think I probably rated, I can't remember what I rated it, but it was a 1.8.
Yeah.
Something in that realm. And I rated it based on what the film is. It's a shit fucking movie. It's a shit fucking movie. But do I recommend everybody watch it? Yes.
Right.
Because it's fucking amazing. I mean, just because I give it a low rating doesn't mean it's a bad movie. Now, if I give it a low rating and I say, stay the fuck away from this fucking film at all cost, then it's a bad movie.
Yeah, it's both a bad movie and both not an entertaining movie. A lot of times when we grade movies, I'll try to say, I'll rate it the way it is as a film, like cinematography, direction, acting, things of that nature. But then I'll throw a caveat in at the end. It's like, but I really liked it. So for me, for all of that considered, it's a C. But for me, it's an A because I just love the movie.
Yeah. And that's how I feel about it, you know. And so, and I kind of have a little bit of that with this film, you know. And for me, and maybe I know it's different for you, not being the video game fan. For me, this film has a lot to love about it.
Absolutely.
The campiness of the shots that feel very 80s, early 90s. And very cinematic, early video game cinematic. And then you still have all these characters from part 1 and part 2 of the games. The set designs, even though the set designs looked, when you see them visually, they looked weird, I feel, in the film. But when you put them side by side with the video games,
they look like they fit.
Yeah. Like the police station looked pretty spot on with the set design in the game, and the mansion looked pretty spot on. I mean, yeah, it was like
they really took time to make sure that this is what we were going for.
And you got to see Tyrant, you know, the big mutation of the Doctor at the end of the film.
I thought I recognized him,
and he was the main villain at the end of the first original game, and you got to see.
What was the actor that played him in human form?
It was.
He's in so much.
Yeah, he plays Damien Dark in the Arrow universe.
Oh, does okay.
Neil McDonough, or however you say his name, but he's in so much. He's one of those actors that he's
character actors.
Yeah, he's in like everything.
He's the bad guy in Walking Tall with The Rock.
Yeah, he was in that. He's in the Tulsa King, Minority Report.
Yeah, he was in Tulsa King.
He's in, God, I'm pretty sure he's been in Supernatural. I know he's been in the Arrowverse and a lot of the CW stuff. American Horror Story.
Yeah, he's definitely a good actor. Yeah, I like the villain. I like the CGI in this movie. I'm not a fan of CGI normally.
And there's a lot of CGI, but there's a lot of practical effects in this film, and there's a lot of practical effects, CGI put on top of practical effects in this film.
I think they really did well with the CGI. I think it might have had something to do with it, the people being involved with video games and how when it's done in video games it looks so good that translated into this film. So yeah, I like the special effects. Visually, the movie was pretty impressive, especially the bad guy at the end.
Yeah, he was great, and I loved
in all of his forms.
Yeah, I loved the scene with the truck driver walking into the police station on fire.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was a cool scene. I mean, and some of the gore shots, even though this movie's not really gory. But some of the shots and some of the makeup on some of the gory stuff is really good.
A decent amount of blood in this. This might be considered a pretty gory movie.
Yeah. Well, I think I also just watched Terrifier 3. So
right. It's not on that level, but just for a mainstream movie, it was pretty gory, which was beautiful, which was cool. I dig that kind of stuff. And and when they fought the guy we were just talking about, and he's dead. I'm like, there's no way he's dead. Because in all video games, especially like these Resident Evil type games, you got to kill that guy 3 times before he dies. And I knew that.
I love how they kill him.
Mm-hmm.
At the very end of the film, he mutates the final time into the giant tyrant, and he tears the whole back of this train that they're on trying to get out of the city and off, and they're basically shooting him, and he's not doing anything to him. And
might as well throw pebbles at Godzilla.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, on this little container of this train, you see Leon come in with a fucking rocket launcher and shoots a rocket launcher in this train and blows him up. And to me, that was very video game.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and it was I loved it. Like that scene alone was just like, yes, it wasn't gory, it wasn't. It was kind of a little bit anticlimactic, but at the same time, it felt very video game.
Right? Oh yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like you beat him the first time, he comes back. You beat him the second time, he comes back, and then you got to beat him a third time. And yeah, in video games, the rocket launcher is always boss.
Yeah, and it always is in the Resident Evil games. I mean, once you earn that rocket launcher, I've played through those games multiple times where you get the rocket launcher with infinite ammo, and you go through the game again, and you just blow everything up. Yeah. So the cast in this cast was actually pretty great. They actually had as bad as some of the acting was, and I think some of the acting was deliberately bad.
Right. I was going to say, like, it was bad, but it kind of fit. It kind of fit, man, the way it was supposed to be with a lot of the delivery of the lines.
And especially when you look at the cast, because a lot of the actors in this film have been in some pretty big stuff. I mean, you got the main girl that played Claire, Kaya, who was the main girl in all the Maze Runner movies. Maze Runner movies. You had Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell's younger brother, who
I recognized that name when I was watching it. I was wondering if he was related.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Stephen Amell's younger brother.
Was he Chris?
He played Chris Redfield.
Okay, cool.
And he was in stuff. He's been in a lot of TV shows. He was in the X-Files reboot. He was in the Tomorrow People. He was in the Arrowverse's Firestorm for a while. He's been around. You had what's his name? I'll not say his name right, but Donald Loge, that played the chief.
Oh,
he's been in Gotham.
That's what I'm saying. He's from Gotham. He was Harvey.
Yeah. He's in all kinds of stuff. He was in Sons of Anarchy. I mean, tons of films through his career.
He's got credits for days.
The girl that played Jill and the guy that played Albert Wesker, I cannot think of a movie that they're in, but both of those characters were.
Albert Wesker, was he the big guy?
Yeah.
Wasn't he in
He's in Black Sails, Game of Thrones.
No, it's a superhero thing. Titans. Was he in Titans?
No, you're thinking of Alan Richardson, who plays Reacher.
No, I'm thinking of Hank Dove and whatever.
That's Dove.
Okay.
That's Alan Richardson.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Okay.
He plays Reacher.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not the same guy.
All right. Well, you look like him.
He's big like him for sure. Oh yeah, this guy's in Knights of Badassum, and he's in multiple things. And the girl that played Jill, she is Pirates of the Caribbean. That's one thing and she was in Maze Runner as well, and Crawl. Or did I select? Oh, I selected the wrong one. Wait a second. Hannah John Kamen is her name.
So are you saying that the guy from Dove was in this, and I just had the wrong character? Okay.
No, the guy that played Dove in Titans was Alan Richardson,
and he was not in this.
He was not in this because he plays Reacher in the Reacher TV series.
Yeah, okay. I had never seen that.
And he also played Aquaman in Smallville.
Interesting.
I know what I know this girl from. The girl that played Jill, she plays Ghost in Ant-Man and Wasp. She was the main villain. And she's in Ready Player One. She's been in a number of things. So, I mean, regardless, like, this cast, a lot of these actors are very established.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
And, you know, I think they acted campy because that was what.
It was probably the direction.
It was the direction, you know. And I think the campiness in a lot of the acting works.
It definitely added to the film. It made you feel like you were watching the video game.
Yeah.
And I would think as a fan of the video game, that's what you would want. And I get, like, again, I didn't know the lore as much as some people, so I didn't realize that they mixed this with this, and I could see how that could upset somebody. But I think at the end of the day, I would think about other video game adaptations like Mario Brothers and, you know, just where it's just nowhere near what you want.
Yeah.
You know, and this being so close to the actual game, I think I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. And I was. And I made the argument and I know a lot of people that did not watch this because of the hate. And I was like, give this movie a shot. And the people that did hate it, I was like, you know, go rewatch this film with open eyes of, yes, you didn't get what you want, but look at it like, hey, I'm watching a deliberately campy movie that was made to feel very 80s and very, very 1990s video game cinematic, you know. And if you watch it with those eyes, you're going to enjoy this movie. Are you going to love it? Probably. You're probably not going to love it, but you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Couple of random facts, and I'm looking them up, but I did catch them as I was watching this.
Yeah, I usually write down stuff like that, but again, I'm very ill prepared. I did this in a matter of 2 hours whilst watching the movie.
I threw this on him at the last minute. The set designs, I did read. This is one I did not know until today, and when I read this. Capcom actually gave the filmmakers their blueprints to recreate the main halls of Spencer and the police station.
And you could tell.
Yeah. And there's a lot of a bunch of little Easter eggs, like the diner scene. There's a classic typewriter in the background, which that's how you save your game.
That's how you save, yep.
At the very beginning, and this is one that I did catch. At the very beginning of the movie, Jill asked her friends what would be the worst death, swallowed from a giant snake or eaten by a great white shark. So in the first game, there is a giant snake, and there's also a flooded lab with a great white shark. Yeah. So that was a really cool little nod. You know, and that's the little things that I think a lot of us gamers wanted to see. We wanted to see the giant shark. We wanted to see the giant snake. We wanted to see these things. But
I'm definitely a fan of giant creatures, especially when they're done right. So I would have liked to see that as well.
Yeah. Another little Easter egg, the original game, you had to play the Moonlight Sonata in order to solve one of the puzzles. Well, in the movie, Wesker plays the Moonlight Sonata on the piano to open that hidden door.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Easter eggs, and I can go on. There's
and I knew Capcom had to be involved with this because they were just getting too much stuff right.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easter, and I could sit here and go through a lot more, but there's literally pages and pages of Easter eggs in this film that they kind of threw in it. So I mean, I would just, if you're a fan of the movie, go dive into some of those little trivia facts. Mm-hmm. So. And going into the budget, this had a estimated $25 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
It made,
which is a giant budget for a horror film.
Yeah. And, but you know, even though this movie made money, it got so much hate and it dropped off so quick compared to the other Resident Evil movies. It was considered commercially kind of a failure.
Oh.
And that's why they did not continue this storyline.
Well, you still have time. It was only in 2021.
Yeah, but they've scrapped it.
They're not even bothering.
They're not even
That
bothering.
Sucks.
And
that's disappointing. I was hoping.
And it is, because did you see the post-credit scene?
Yeah.
Because, the post-credit scene.
I know her, too. You know, again, I'm. You know, so I imagine if I know these characters, fans of the franchise really know these characters.
So the post-credit scene, just to go ahead and spoil it, if you have not seen it, Wesker dies in the movie, but at the very end, you see a body bag raise up, and Wesker is revived, and you see a character come in, and he's saying you can't see, and she's like, it's a side effect of this serum we use to bring you back to life. She gives him the iconic sunglasses that Wesker always wears through the games, and then he asks who she is, and she's like, I'm Ada Wong, which is like one of the main characters from the video game series. Mm-hmm. So they really set it up to bring Wesker in as the bad guy and Ada Wong back, you know, for a sequel. And unfortunately, it's all been scrapped.
That's disappointing.
So I
was hoping that there might have been something in development that we'd be getting soon. That's disappointing.
Yeah, it's a letdown. But this movie did make $41 million worldwide. Mm-hmm. It made 17 million in domestic and almost 25 million internationally.
So probably the Japanese had less problems with it than you know, the hard to please Americans.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's still considered commercially a failure. I mean, you do 17 million in America on a $25 million budget.
That is definitely a failure.
It's definitely a failure.
You lost $8 million.
Yeah. And so they had to bank on Japan to bail this movie out. And so, I think that's why it was scrapped. So.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
All right. So, let's go ahead and get into the ratings on this.
All right.
I'll let you go first.
So, as I said, the movie did have problems. You know, if you're grading it as like a film, but again, like we discussed, a lot of those problems were deliberate, or at least we think they were, and it added to the film. You grade on a scale of 1 to 4 CineNerds, if I remember right.
No,
yes?
we do 1 to 5.
1 to 5.
1 to 5.
Okay, 1 to 5. All right. So for me, I'm gonna go. I really like the movie. I'm gonna watch it again. I'm glad I bought it rather than rented it. 3.5. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
I'm going 3.5.
All right. You're not too far off from where I'm at. You know, this film has its problems. It's not going to be for everyone.
No.
This film is not going to be for everyone. But if you're a fan, to me, if you're a fan of the Resident Evil films, and even if you're not a fan of the Resident Evil films, if you're a fan of just some kind of like the weird campiness of certain horror films or old video game cinematics, and you like that style, and it has more of a, like I said, I feel like it has more of a camera angle wise, and even some of the music wise has a more of a 80s, early 90s kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, I think they nailed the music.
Yeah, I mean, they even had like the dome, like some of those eerie kind of, you know, just ambient noises and shit. And that's what I love about this film. I think I think the atmosphere of this film, but if you're a fan of those kind of things, you're going to get some enjoyment out of this film. This isn't going to be your favorite film. Enjoyment out of this film. This isn't going to be your favorite film. I don't think this is ever going to be anybody's favorite film, but this film is a fun. It's just a fun ride of a film, and if you enjoy that style, and I sit kind of where you are. I'm actually going to rate it a little lower than you. I'm actually going to go to a 3.2 is where I kind of sit with this one. Because it's not a perfect film. And this was based on my recommendation. I wanted to do, this is one I chose to do for the Halloween season. And I chose this because I feel like this film got a lot of hate, and a lot of people passed on it because of the hate, that I feel like they need to give this film a chance, because it is campy. It has a lot of these elements of film that a lot of people that I know, that I'm friends with, they love, but they didn't watch this film, and to me, it's the best Resident Evil movie we've gotten.
Have you seen a better video game adaptation into a film than this? Because I don't think there is one.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Detective Pikachu.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch that.
Detective. So,
I haven't watched it, so I can't say if it's better or not.
I would rate Detective Pikachu better, a better video game movie. I would rate Sonic.
But are they closer? Are they true to the video games? Not as far as just a better movie. Is there a video game movie that's a closer adaptation to the source material? Is basically what I'm saying. Because Detective Pikachu, that wasn't what the game was.
No.
So even if it's a better movie,
it's a better movie. But you're right. It's not.
So on that level,
you're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right with Welcome to Raccoon City as a closer adaptation. It probably is the best.
Yeah. Or should we say closest to the source material? Because best, like it goes back to it's not a perfect movie, but closest to the source material as far as video game films are concerned.
Yeah, I think there's better video game films, but yeah, this is probably closest to the source material. This is probably the best of them.
Because most of them are nothing like it. The Street Fighter movies garbage. Most of the Mortal Kombat movies not so much. A couple of them are okay.
See,
the Super Mario movie. Don't tell me you can't tell me you like that.
I do. I do.
If anybody on the planet likes Super Mario Brothers,
I love the Street Fighter. I love the genre.
And I'm talking about the original with John Leguizamo. Yeah. Okay.
What?
Not that new one that came out that made a bunch of money.
You know what? You just said something. I'm gonna backtrack. There's animated movie that just came out.
Yes.
However, the original Street Fighter was Jean-Claude Van Damme movie that just came out.
Yes.
However, the original Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme, I think, is a perfect 90s action film, and super, it's bad, but it's perfect in a 90s kind of shitty kind of way.
I watch it. I like bad movies.
And Super Mario Brothers, man, I love that film. Is it shit? Yes, it's fucking shit. But come on. You had the cast. The cast was great.
The cast was good cast. Yeah,
Dennis Hopper,
John Leguizamo,
and Samantha Mathis as
good stuff.
Yeah, it was and the movie's shit.
Ridiculous Goombas, like how they look just so ridiculous.
I went to
far away from what they should look like.
I went to the movie theater and watched that when it came out, and I loved it back then. Like I'm a fan, but I love shitty films. Now,
yes, exactly. That's what I said. If there's anybody on the planet that likes that movie, it's you.
Is the movie cinematically like a masterpiece? No, it's a shit fucking movie. It's a fucking horrible fucking movie if you're going to watch it with that aspect, or if you're going to even watch it with the aspect of.
Is it like Super Mario Brothers?
Super Mario Brothers? You're going to be pissed. You're going to be really fucking mad if you watch that movie and you've never seen it and expecting that. But if you're going to go watch it for what it is as an early 90s movie with some of those characters, and you want to watch a shit movie and just have a good time, Super Mario Brothers is it. I mean, All right, so we got our ratings in. One thing that me and Ryan do, I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do one first, give you a minute.
Okay.
One thing that me and Ryan have been doing for a lot of our episodes recently, we've been doing a extra film recommendation that we've watched recently.
Okay.
Be a TV series or film, or you can do one of each. So I'm going to recommend, and I sent this to you on a recommendation. I don't know if you've watched it yet, but the independent film Beazle.
Oh, I have not gotten to that.
Beazle is a fucking amazing indie horror film. Now, again, is this film I'm recommending perfect? It's not perfect by any shape or form, because it was done on a shoestring budget, like one location, handful of actors. Some of the acting is really rough. Then some of the acting is actually really fucking amazing. But the film is very creative, and it does a lot with a shoestring budget to keep you kind of like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? So yeah, Beazle, check it out. I don't think it's actually streaming anywhere other than if you rent it on like Apple TV or Vudu, Fandango, whatever. You can rent it or buy it. I don't think it's streaming anywhere yet. I would imagine this film may end up popping up on like Shudder or something in the near future, if I had to guess.
I'll pay to rent it. I don't care about
Yeah.
that. It just, we've just been doing so many movies so quick. That's why I say I haven't really watched anything new except for Terrifier 3. But I've been watching. I went to the drive-in the other day, watched some old movies there. Then I went to the 12 Hours of Horror thing, watched a few old movies there. I've been reviewing films for the podcast. So I haven't watched anything new besides Terrifier 3 in a while, and I would recommend that too. That they did a pretty good job with that. But one thing that just came out on streaming that I watched when it first came out in the theater that I think everyone should watch, and when you go to watch this film, don't look it up. Don't see what it's about. Find out as little as possible about the movie before you watch it. And that's Strange Darling. Have you seen it yet? Mm-mm. Please watch this movie. It's the best horror film of the last 10 years. It is one of those films where hardcore horror fans will say it's not horror. You know how some people say Silence of the Lambs is not a horror movie?
Yeah, it's more of a thriller.
It's on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on that level. So if you're not a big horror person, I still recommend this movie. Because it's not a slasher, crazy monster killing people. It's more where you got to think a little bit, and it's a thriller. And it just came out on Amazon, I think, and Fandango for like $5.99 or whatever it costs to rent a movie on there. It's nowhere for free yet, but it is definitely worth whatever they're charging you for it. It's absolutely amazing. Strange Darling. I can't think of even one actor in it. Can't remember who directs it. But don't look any of that up, because you'll mess up and spoil yourself, and you don't want that. You want to just watch this dry, and I guarantee you'll love it.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. And so I think maybe you sent me something about that one a while back.
Probably sent you, go watch this movie.
Yeah, and I haven't looked it up. Yeah, I hadn't had a chance yet.
That's what you got to do. You can't look it up because it'll ruin the movie. Any knowledge, any pieces of knowledge you get on this film is going to make it less enjoyable. All I knew going in that it had something to do with a serial killer, and that's all I'll leave you with. It has something to do with a serial killer. Go watch the movie.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. 3CineNerds@gmail.com. Shoot us a message. Give us a like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends. Also, go to check Rick's page out, The Whole Damn Enchilada, on
Facebook and YouTube, iTunes. We go live almost every Thursday. We missed last Thursday because I was at Cedar Point. But every Thursday at 7 o'clock, we go live. We have guests from all different movies, independent films, major motion pictures, and guests such as yourself.
Yeah.
Been on a couple times.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of fun, and we like to be interactive. So we watch live, comment while we're going, and it's a lot of fun.
So check them out. And you can catch him at 7 on Thursday, most Thursdays.
And immediately
after, you come join us at 8 o'clock. So,
yes.
All righty. Till next time. Later.